The air in the International Airport customs area hums with 1,000 invisible currents, the low thrum of distant jet engines, the murmur of 100 languages blurring into one indistinct wave, the crisp crackle of an overhead announcement. You, Grant, navigate this transient space, a solitary anchor amidst the flux of arrivals and departures. Your gaze, usually a sharp instrument, drifts over the faces of tired travelers, each a fleeting story in transit. Here, under the stark, unforgiving glow of fluorescent lights, the world feels both immense and claustrophobic. It is a place of endings and beginnings, yet for you, it is merely another stage for the quiet, persistent ache that accompanies your every waking moment. A bitterness, cold and metallic, coats the back of your throat. It is the ghost of a past failure, a shadow that clings to your periphery, refusing to fully dissipate even in the brightest glare. You carry it like a lead weight in your chest, a constant reminder of what was lost, of the life that slipped through your fingers. This weight, however, has forged a steel in your spine, a determination that hardens your resolve. You will not falter again. Not on your watch. The scent of stale coffee and duty-free perfume clings to the sterile walls. You watch a family, reunited, embrace with a joyous abandon that feels alien to your own tightly held world. A flicker of something unreadable crosses your face, quickly shuttered. Your focus returns to the rhythmic procession of luggage on the conveyor belts, each bag a potential repository of secrets. This is your routine, observation, analysis, a silent sifting through the layers of the ordinary, searching for the crack, the incongruity. A hand claps your shoulder, startling you from your reverie. Grant! You're early for a flight you're not taking. The voice belongs to a colleague, a man whose easy humor often chafes against your somber disposition. He holds a tablet, its screen glowing with the stark white of a standard report. You turn, your expression unyielding. Just passing through. What's the trouble? The colleague's smile falters, replaced by a more serious mien. Missing person. Came in an hour ago. Thought you'd want to see it. It's a bit odd. He hands you the tablet. The screen displays a photo, a young woman, perhaps early 20s, with a vibrant shock of crimson hair and eyes that spark with an almost defiant intelligence. Her name is Eliza Vance. Below her image, a brief summary of the report unfolds. She's an activist, a vocal proponent for environmental justice, known for her passionate, sometimes confrontational, protests. Last seen 3 days ago, the colleague explains, leaning closer, his voice dropping slightly. Her roommate reported it. Said Eliza left a note, something vague about needing space and finding clarity. Standard runaway fare, right? Except. He trails off, a furrow appearing between his brows. You scroll through the details, your eyes scanning for the anomalies. Eliza Vance. No history of mental health issues. No prior disappearances. And her laptop, all her research material. Everything she needs for her online campaigns, her network, the colleague states, gesturing vaguely at the tablet. For someone needing space, she stripped herself of every connection. Doesn't feel right for a self-proclaimed digital native, does it? The roommate also mentioned Eliza was working on something big, something he was on the verge of exposing. A shiver, imperceptible to anyone else, traces its way down your spine. The word exposing resonates with a discordant hum. Runaways typically shed responsibilities, not tools. They disappear from something, not from everything that defines them. The vague note feels less like a cry for space and more like a hastily constructed alibi, a thin veil drawn over an absence that feels too deliberate. Your mind begins to construct the framework of the case, piece by piece. The vibrant activist, the sudden, uncharacteristic disappearance, the abandoned essentials. The initial impression of a runaway, so readily embraced by others, feels flimsy, almost manufactured. You feel the familiar prickle of unease, a premonition that this surface calm conceals a churning undertow. Any other details from the roommate, you ask, handing back the tablet. Your gaze is now fixed, distant, already probing the unseen. Just that Eliza had been unusually quiet the last few days, stressed. And that she'd received a few strange calls, late at night, from blocked numbers. Nothing concrete, just a feeling. The colleague shrugs, clearly still leaning towards the runaway theory, despite his own misgivings. You nod slowly, your jaw tightening. Strange calls. Blocked numbers. The pieces don't fit the runaway narrative. They instead suggest a pattern of escalating tension, a deliberate severing of ties, not by choice, but by coercion. The young woman in the photo, with her defiant eyes, doesn't strike you as one to simply vanish, leaving her life's work behind. Where was she last seen? You press, already moving, your steps measured, determined. Her apartment building, 3 days ago. Left a note on her desk. The building has surveillance, but it's a blind spot facing the alleyway exit. Nothing on the main entrance footage. A blind spot. Of course. You push the memory down, hard. This time, you will see everything. The weight in your chest feels heavier, but it is now tempered with a sharp, focused resolve. Eliza Vance is not a runaway. You feel it in your bones, a truth vibrating beneath the surface static of the airport, a silent scream hidden within the missing person report. This is not a simple case. This is a descent into something far more intricate, far more dangerous. The tension in the air, once a product of travel, now feels like a prelude to something sinister. It tastes of stale coffee and recycled breath, a transient space where lives brush past, leaving only faint echoes. You navigate the labyrinth of the past week, the ghost of Eliza's passage a pale thread you grasp. The memory of your last failure, a wound still unhealed, presses against your ribs, a promise of relentless pursuit this time. He is a sentinel of borders, seeing thousands of faces blur into anonymity. Eliza Vance, you state, her name a quiet command in the sterile environment. Last Tuesday, inbound flight 417. The officer's gaze, flat and unblinking, trawls through his digital log. Vance, Eliza. Yes. Checked in. No issues. Standard declaration. He offers the information with the practiced indifference of a machine. No flags. Cleared by the supervisor. Did she seem agitated? Distracted? You probe, your voice low, seeking the nuances beneath the official records. He shrugs, a slight movement. They all seem something. Some nervous, some eager. He was unremarkable. Carried a small, worn leather satchel, I recall. Kept glancing towards the exit, even after clearing. Unremarkable. Yet, a detail surfaces, the satchel, the searching gaze. You request the surveillance footage for that day, that hour. The security manager, a woman with sharp eyes and an even sharper demeanor, grants access, her movements efficient, devoid of warmth. On the grainy monitors, Eliza manifests. She moves with a deceptive calm, her posture straight, a small smile for the customs officer. But you, attuned to the slightest discord, see it. Her eyes, darting, restless, betray the composure. She's not just looking for an expected face, there's an undercurrent of apprehension, a controlled anxiety. Her fingers, you notice, repeatedly brush the clasp of that worn leather satchel, almost a nervous tick. And then, a fleeting moment, as she passes a waste receptacle near a deserted gate, she pauses. A quick, almost imperceptible gesture. She doesn't drop anything in, but rather, she touches something, hidden from the primary camera angle. A blind spot. You rewind, zoom, enhance. The pixelated image strains, but the action is clear enough, A swift, almost sleight-of-hand motion, as if she's placing something, or retrieving it, from a small, dark recess within the bin's inner lining. It's too quick to be definitive, too obscured to be sure, but the intention is palpable. Did anyone clean that bin between then and now? You ask the security manager, your voice taut. She checks her logs. No. Not that specific one. It's a low-traffic area for outbound flights. The cleaning crew would have cycled through later that evening, but usually, those bins are just emptied, not thoroughly checked. You return to the specific bin, guided by the timestamp. It's an innocuous metal cylinder, blending seamlessly into the background. You don gloves, your fingers tracing the cold, impersonal metal. Inside, amidst the usual detritus of travel, boarding passes, crumpled napkins, and empty coffee cup, you find nothing. But then, your fingers brush against a small, rough patch near the rim, on the underside of the plastic liner. A strip of industrial-strength tape, barely visible, securing something flat and thin. You carefully peel it back. It's a folded sheet of paper, a page torn from a small notebook, not much larger than a palm. The paper feels aged, brittle. Unfolding it, you see Eliza's distinctive, elegant script. It's a journal entry, dated just days before her disappearance, the land deal. It's deeper than I thought. A web spun over decades, anchoring powerful roots. The documents at the archives, specifically the Riverbend acquisition files from '98, are incomplete, deliberately so. The surveyor's original report. It details anomalies, a peculiar geological instability near the old quarry site, a risk assessment that was seemingly ignored. The local development council, then led by the patron, pushed it through anyway. Why? The compensation packages for the original landowners were minimal, almost a forced purchase. I suspect. No, I know there's a hidden agenda. My contact, the archivist, mentioned a sealed box, referenced only by a code, 7 Alpha 9 Delta. He thinks it holds the truth about the quarry, the land, and the true beneficiaries. He's afraid. Said to meet him at the abandoned factory by the docks, midnight, tomorrow. If I don't show, he'll know something is wrong. Grant, if you read this. Look for the quarry. Look for the anomalies. And ask about the patron. The last line, a direct address, sends a shiver down your spine. She knew. She expected this. Your name, penned by her hand, a posthumous plea. The paper crinkles slightly in your gloved fingers, a brittle testament to a secret too dangerous to keep. The patron. This is no longer a simple missing persons case. This is a deliberate, calculated disappearance, and Eliza, with her relentless pursuit of truth, had stumbled onto something far grander, far more sinister, than anyone imagined. The first thread, thin as it is, has been pulled. The brittle paper, a whisper against your gloved fingers, still carried the faint scent of aged ink and something else, a metallic tang of apprehension. The patron. The name, scrawled in her desperate hand, reverberated through the quiet of your office. It was a beacon, dim yet persistent, pulling you towards the city's arteries of transit, to the last place the missing activist was definitively seen. You needed to understand the scope of this influence, the reach of a name that could silence a vibrant voice. Fluorescent lights cast a sterile glow on polished floors, reflecting the hurried steps of travelers and the measured pace of officials. The missing activist's last known movements had terminated here, a supposed departure that never happened. You approached the customs desk, the one where the activist's travel documents should have been processed. A young customs officer, his uniform crisp, met your eyes with a practiced smile that didn't quite reach his pale gaze. Grant, you stated, presenting your credentials. I'm looking into a passenger, or rather, a non-passenger. The missing activist. The officer's smile faltered, replaced by a subtle tightening around his eyes. Ah, yes. We've been asked about that. A regrettable situation. His words were smooth, too smooth, a polished stone deflecting inquiry. Our records show her manifest was flagged for a flight to the southern continent. But she never boarded. No baggage checked in, no gate scan. He gestured vaguely towards a bank of monitors. Standard procedure. We flagged it immediately. And what about security footage around that time? You pressed, your voice low, steady. Did anyone meet her? Did she seem distressed? He tapped a finger on his desk, avoiding your direct stare. Security footage is extensive, Grant. It's been reviewed by internal security. Nothing untoward. She entered, processed, then. It's a busy area. Many blind spots, unfortunately, in the older sections. The phrase older sections snagged at your mind. Blind spots. Is that common for this area? Even 2 decades ago? The customs officer stiffened, his professional veneer cracking. He looked sharply at you, then quickly away, scanning the bustling hall. 2 decades? I wouldn't know, Grant. I haven't been here that long. Things change. His tone was suddenly dismissive, almost a warning. Is there anything else, or can I get back to my duties? His abrupt shift, the veiled defensiveness, was a red flag. It wasn't just about the missing activist anymore. Back at your precinct, the question gnawed at you, why the sudden discomfort at the mention of 2 decades? A name, a face, a forgotten file began to surface from the depths of your memory. Another activist, young, passionate, vanished without a trace, almost 20 years ago. You spent the rest of the day in the archives, a cavernous space smelling of dust and forgotten histories. The evergreen disappearance, she queried, her voice sharp. That case is sealed, Grant. Closed. No new leads. What possible relevance could it have to your current inquiry? A hunch, you replied, your gaze unwavering. A pattern. She sighed, a sound of weary resignation, but eventually, the heavy boxes arrived. Both activists, vocal critics of corporate exploitation. Both vanished from urban hubs, leaving behind a trail of frustration and unanswered questions. Both cases met with an unusual degree of resistance from official channels. Your search for the missing activist had suddenly broadened, encompassing a forgotten tragedy. You sought out an influential community leader, an elder statesman known for his unwavering commitment to justice, hoping for insight into the Evergreen case. He greeted you in his study, surrounded by stacks of books and awards. A sad affair, Grant, the elder statesman murmured, his voice a low rumble, his eyes clouded with what appeared to be genuine sorrow. The activist was a bright light. A fierce advocate. But the world can be cruel. Sometimes, people simply choose to disappear. The pressures, you understand. He offered you a cup of herbal tea, his gaze paternal, yet unsettlingly firm. It's best not to stir old ghosts. Some wounds never heal, and some truths are too painful to unearth. For the community's sake, Grant, let the past rest. The words were gentle, but the underlying message was clear, back off. The subtle warnings, the polite stonewalling, the convenient blind spots, it all coalesced into a suffocating pressure. The scent of a cover-up was thick in the air. Frustration gnawed at you, pushing you beyond official channels. You remembered a small, independent newspaper, long defunct, that had been particularly vocal during the Evergreen disappearance. Its archives were less formal, less curated. Deep in the musty stacks of a municipal library, amidst crumbling broadsheets and forgotten headlines, you found it. A small, almost obscured article from 2 decades ago, nestled between a local charity drive and a zoning dispute. The headline was generic, "Community Leader Expresses Concern." But the final paragraph, almost an afterthought, sent a jolt through you. The reporter had clearly been grasping at straws. Unable to provide concrete evidence, but the word itself hung in the air, heavy and ominous. The Syndicate. Two names, 20 years apart, yet they felt like two sides of the same tarnished coin. You were prying open a tomb, and something powerful, something ancient, was pushing back. The tension in the air was palpable, a silent threat that had been waiting for you to unearth it. The brittle files, yellowed with the passage of decades, whispered their grim secrets into the quiet air of your office. You traced the faded ink, the meticulous reports detailing the lives of two activists, separated by years yet bound by a chilling symmetry. Both, vocal critics of corporate exploitation. Both, swallowed by the city's maw, leaving behind only the ghost of their presence. The name, Ether Holdings, appears in both sets of documents, a corporate behemoth that seemed to touch everything, yet remained untouchable. Calls to former associates of the vanished, a few still alive, are met with clipped tones, hurried goodbyes, or outright denial of any knowledge. The air around you, once merely still, now feels heavy, charged with unspoken warnings. You spend a day chasing a thread from the older case, a defunct shipping company once implicated in a minor customs irregularity, now long dissolved. The trail leads you to a dusty municipal archive, then to a quiet, forgotten corner of the city where an elderly former clerk, his memory a sieve, offers only a single, cryptic phrase before shutting his door: "Some things are best left undisturbed, son. Especially if they touch the river." Returning to your apartment, the city lights bleed across your windshield, painting the familiar streets in distorted hues. A subtle dissonance pricks at your senses even before you unlock the door. The potted fern on the small table by the entrance, usually angled perfectly towards the window, now faces slightly inward. A tremor of unease. The air is still, yet disturbed. Your gaze sweeps the room, cataloging the subtle violations. The cushions on the sofa are fluffed, but not quite as you left them. A stack of journals on your coffee table, meticulously arranged by date, now sits askew, a single volume out of sequence. This isn't a smash and grab, it's a message, carefully curated. Your footsteps are soft as you move through the living space, each breath shallow. In the bedroom, the violation deepens. Dresser drawers are not open, but their contents are subtly shifted, the edges of folded shirts no longer sharp. The wardrobe stands slightly ajar. You pull it open fully, and there, on the empty hanger where your old, worn trenchcoat usually hangs, is a single, polished riverstone. It wasn't there before. The elderly clerk's words echo, especially if they touch the river. This isn't just about the missing now. This is personal. They know you. They know what haunts you. They are telling you they know your weaknesses, your past. You need answers, and the official channels, you realize, are not the place to find them. You know a man, a ghost in the city's underbelly, who collects truths like rare coins. He is known only as the Archivist, a former information broker who vanished from the grid years ago after a run-in with powers too vast to fight head-on. The journey to the Archivist is a descent into the city's forgotten veins. You navigate narrow, graffiti-scarred alleys, the scent of damp concrete and stale exhaust thick in the air. You pass through the skeletal remains of an abandoned factory, its broken windows like vacant eyes staring at the bruised sky. Finally, a discreet, unmarked steel door, hidden behind a dumpster, yields to a sequence of precise knocks. The archivist sits amidst a labyrinth of towering metal shelves, each crammed with dusty folders, ancient hard drives, and forgotten microfiches. His face is a roadmap of past struggles, etched with cynicism and a weary wisdom. He gestures to a rickety stool. Grant, his voice is a low rasp, like gravel shifting underfoot. I heard you were stirring the old currents again. Some things, my Friend, are best left to sleep. They sent me a message, you state, your voice tight. A river stone. They know about. The last time. The archivist's eyes, sharp and knowing, fix on yours. Ah. Then you've brushed against the syndicate. They are not merely they, Grant. They are the roots beneath the city's roots. From the smallest street-level deals to the highest echelons of corporate power, their tendrils reach. He leans forward, his gaze unwavering. Ether Holdings is merely a visible branch, a front. The syndicate is the tree itself. They have their hands in everything, from construction contracts to the movement of goods and people. They move things, people, secrets, with an ease that would make official channels weep. Your mind races, connecting the dots. The vanished activists, both vocal against corporate exploitation, both targeted by Ether Holdings. The ease with which they disappeared, leaving no trace. The case that broke you, Grant, the archivist continues, his voice softer, the one with the activist whose body was pulled from the river. You were too close. You were about to expose a vital link between Ether and the syndicate's control over certain undesirable elements. They didn't just bury that case, they buried you with it. They let you take the fall, allowed the official narrative to paint you as reckless, obsessed. It was a warning, Grant. A demonstration of their reach, their power to make inconvenient truths vanish, along with those who seek them. The revelation hits you with the force of a physical blow. It wasn't just failure, it was orchestration. You were a pawn, sacrificed to protect a truth too dangerous to surface. And they will be here long after. Now, they see you digging again. They want you to remember what happens when you disturb their sleep. The air in the bunker grows heavy, thick with the unsaid. You stare at the archivist, the pieces of a terrifying puzzle clicking into place. And now, you are no longer just an investigator, you are their target. The archivist's words, a tapestry woven from whispers and shadows, now unravel in your mind, each thread pulling at a forgotten knot. You return to the sterile quiet of your temporary workspace, a borrowed desk piled high with digital files and brittle paper. The air conditioner hums a monotonous counterpoint to the frantic rhythm of your thoughts. You dive into the archives, a digital archaeologist sifting through the dust of decades. Old land deeds flicker across the screen, then yellowed newspaper clippings. The Grand Prosperity Project, they called it, a sprawling land development initiative from 40 years prior. You trace the acquisitions, a spiderweb of shell corporations with interlocking directorships, all leading back to a handful of names, now powerful figures in the city's corporate landscape. Their initial investments were paltry, almost suspicious for the sheer volume of land they amassed. The pattern emerges, stark and chilling. Small landowners, reluctant to sell, suddenly faced insurmountable legal challenges, their properties condemned for dubious reasons, or they simply vanished, their protests fading into the city's white noise. You pull up archived police reports from that era, a string of unsolved disappearances, a few suspicious suicides, all dismissed, all forgotten. A local activist, a vocal critic of the project's environmental impact, found lifeless in a shallow ditch, the official cause of death a tragic accident. The victim, a brilliant, eccentric geologist, had submitted a detailed report years before the Grand Prosperity Project began, outlining unique geological anomalies beneath the proposed development site. The report was buried, never acknowledged. Your fingers fly across the keyboard, cross-referencing names, dates, locations. The land was not merely fertile ground for suburban sprawl, it was a carefully chosen shield. Beneath the veneer of progress, deep within the earth, lay the true prize. A highly unstable, energy-rich compound, naturally occurring in deep geological pockets. Its existence unknown to mainstream science then, its properties revolutionary. Its extraction, dangerous, its refinement, lucrative beyond measure. The land development was a colossal, generations-long deception, a meticulously crafted shell for subterranean facilities designed to harvest this illicit resource. The Grand Prosperity Project was merely a convenient cover, an excuse for heavy machinery, for restricted access, for the constant hum of hidden operations. This was their original sin, the poison well from which all their power sprang. The missing persons, both then and now, were simply those who stumbled too close to the source, those who threatened to expose the rot beneath the gilded facade. The missing colleague, the one who first brought the current case to your attention, had been tracking anomalies in local energy consumption, spikes that didn't align with any public utility records. She wasn't just looking for a missing person, he was unwittingly tracing the current operations of Ethereum flux extraction. She must have found something irrefutable, before she vanished. The weight of decades of calculated malevolence presses down on you. This isn't just a corporate conspiracy, it's an empire built on blood and lies, a secret society that has systematically eliminated anyone who threatened their illicit foundation. The current missing person isn't just a victim, they are another casualty in a war that began long before you were born. A notification flashes on your screen, a digital breadcrumb left by the missing colleague, routed through a series of encrypted proxies. It's a flight manifest, redacted but still revealing. A private cargo plane, inbound from a remote, geologically active region known for rare earth deposits, landing in less than 2 hours. The manifest lists specialized industrial components, a thinly veiled euphemism. Your gut clenches. This isn't just about history, it's happening now. You move with a sudden, urgent purpose. The air there will hum with the mundane drone of travel, but for you, it will be charged with a different kind of electricity, the silent hum of a decades-old secret making its latest, illicit journey. You know what you must look for, what specific handling codes, what subtle indicators of the volatile cargo. Your heart, now a steady drum against your ribs, beats not with fear, but with a grim resolve. The low thrum of distant jet engines, a constant, weighty vibration, presses against the soles of your shoes, a counterpoint to the rapid flutter within your own ribs. Fluorescent lights cast a clinical, unforgiving sheen over rows of gray filing cabinets and the stern, unreadable faces of the customs officers who drift between them like silent sentinels. Before you, spread across a cold, steel table, are stacks of archived manifests and import declarations. Now, the paper speaks. Your fingers trace lines of faded ink, names of companies that dissolved decades ago, descriptions of cargo ranging from industrial machinery to artistic artifacts. The archivist's words echo, the founder's son. The old ways. Coded names. You sift through the mundane, the legitimate, seeking the anomaly, the pattern that screams disruption. Hours bleed into one another, the light outside the high windows shifting from pale morning to a bruised twilight. Then, a name. Not a person, but a shell corporation, a holding entity that appears sporadically through the years, always linked to shipments of high-value, low-density cargo. Phoenix Holdings. It's a phantom, an entity with no public face, yet it consistently receives shipments through the same port, handled by the same small, obscure freight company. The signature on the customs forms, a sweeping, confident flourish, repeats across various decades, subtly evolving, yet undeniably the same hand. You pull out the microfiches the archivist had given you, slides detailing the Vance family's intricate past. There, buried within a financial ledger from the 1970s, is an entry, quarterly. Investment, Phoenix Holdings. And beside it, a name, a scrawled initial followed by a clear, elegant surname. Sterling. A chill, deeper than the air conditioning, snakes up your spine. Arthur Sterling. The name resonates, a familiar bell in the city's upper echelons. A philanthropist, a patron of the arts, a man whose public image is meticulously sculpted from marble in good intentions. He chairs numerous boards, his face a constant presence in society pages. He is the very definition of a respectable pillar of the community. And he is the founder's son, the silent architect of the syndicate's continued reign. Eliza Vance. You see her now, not just as a missing woman, but as a meticulous investigator, her curiosity a fatal flaw. She found the irrefutable evidence. You pull up Sterling's public records on your tablet, comparing his signature to the one on the customs forms. The match is undeniable. The slight curl of the A, the distinct loop of the G, the confident stroke of the S. It's him. The shipments of artistic artifacts were a cover, a decades-long conduit for something far more illicit, funneled through Phoenix Holdings, a ghost company controlled by a public saint. Eliza Vance must have stumbled upon a specific, undeniable transaction, a transfer of something that couldn't be explained away, a secret too potent to remain buried. Perhaps it was a single, high-value shipment that deviated from the pattern, or a coded message within a bill of lading that he was uniquely positioned to decipher. You are not just dealing with a missing person anymore, you are staring into the face of a hydra, its current head a man beyond reproach. Sterling needs to be exposed, but he is too powerful, too insulated. A direct confrontation would be suicide. You need to draw him out, force his hand, make him reveal himself in the harsh glare of public scrutiny. You will use the evidence, not to convict him in a courtroom, but to corner him in the court of public opinion. You will leak a fragment, a tantalizing sliver of the truth, just enough to threaten his carefully constructed edifice. He will react. And that, you realize, is the trap you must walk into. You will become the bait. A phantom ache stirs in your chest, a ghost from your own past failure, the faces of those you couldn't save flickering at the edges of your vision. This is not just about Eliza Vance anymore. This is about every injustice buried under layers of power and deception. This is about redemption. The air in the customs area grows heavy with unspoken resolve. You know the danger. You understand the odds. You will walk into this trap, head held high, knowing the price. The ghosts of your past stand with you now, not as burdens, but as silent witnesses, urging you forward. Fluorescent light washes over everything, rendering faces pale, stripping the air of warmth. The scent of ozone and stale coffee clings to the ventilation, a metallic tang on your tongue. Around you, the murmur of a dozen languages blends into an indistinct hum, a soundscape of global anonymity. Your gaze, sharpened by weeks of relentless pursuit, tracks the flow of disembarking passengers. Each face is scanned, each gate analyzed, a silent, internal roll call. You are a predator in a concrete jungle, waiting for the apex. Your hand brushes the worn leather of your satchel, the weight of the files inside a tangible reassurance. The evidence is there, meticulously compiled, a spiderweb of connections woven from shadows and whispers. Then, a subtle shift in the current. A ripple of deference from the crowd, a momentary parting of the human sea. He emerges, flanked by two imposing figures whose tailored suits cannot quite conceal the coiled tension beneath the fabric. The leader. His silver hair, impeccably styled, gleams under the harsh lights. His eyes, the weary, hold the cold, calculating glint of a man who has built an empire on buried secrets. He moves with an almost regal detachment, surveying the scene with an air of proprietary disdain. You step forward, your movements deliberate, cutting through the stream of travelers. One of the leader's escorts, a man with a jaw like carved granite, notices you first, his hand subtly shifting beneath his jacket. But you don't break stride, your eyes locked onto the leader's. Leaving so soon? Your voice, though quiet, carries a surprising edge in the din. He turns fully, a faint, condescending smile gracing his lips. Grant. A peculiar place for a reunion. Are you here to inspect my luggage? No, you reply, your gaze unwavering. I'm here to unpack your past. His smile tightens, a predatory glint entering his eyes. A rather dramatic turn of phrase, wouldn't you say? I assure you, my past is quite in order. Is it? You take another step, closing the distance. The customs officer at a nearby booth glances over, sensing the shift in atmosphere. Is Eliza's disappearance in order? Is the truth about the missing funds, the compromised land deals, the silent partners, all in order? The leader's escorts take a half step forward, their postures stiffening. You ignore them, focusing solely on the man before you. Eliza wasn't just investigating the recent corruption, you continue, the words slow and deliberate, each one a stone dropped into the calm surface of his facade. She stumbled onto something much older, something you thought was buried decades ago. The original acquisition of the waterfront properties. That accident that cleared the way for your family's rise. The same pattern, the same quiet disappearances. Eliza found the connection. A muscle twitches in the leader's jaw. The air around you seems to thicken, charged with unspoken threats. You speak of ghosts, Grant. Idle speculation. I speak of facts, you counter, pulling a worn, sealed envelope from your satchel. Eliza found the original survey maps, the ones that showed the land wasn't barren, but rich with a specific mineral deposit, a detail conveniently omitted from the public records. She found the old ledgers, meticulously kept by a disgruntled clerk, detailing payoffs and quiet threats. Someone who knew about the mineral and the land grab. The leader's eyes narrow, losing their practiced detachment. And what does this evidence prove? Exactly? His voice drops, a low, dangerous growl. That history is messy? That fortunes are built on calculated risks? It proves Eliza was getting too close, you state, your voice gaining momentum. She realized the syndicate wasn't just a network of current corruption, it was a generational conspiracy, built on a foundational lie. The same lie that led to the disappearance of the property owner back then, and now, Eliza. One of the escorts makes a sudden move, a blur of motion towards your satchel. You anticipate it, a practiced reflex honed by countless close calls. Your left hand shoots out, catching his wrist in a surprisingly firm grip, twisting it just enough to halt his advance without drawing undue attention from the milling crowd. Your eyes, however, remain fixed on the leader. She knew you were flying out tonight, you press on, ignoring the subtle struggle with the escort. She knew you were trying to secure a new international deal, using the same ill-gotten gains, built on the same buried truths. And he was going to expose it all. The leader lets out a soft, humorless chuckle. And you believe a few dusty documents and the ramblings of a naive researcher will unravel decades of careful construction? My dear Grant, you overestimate the public's appetite for inconvenient truths. And you gravely underestimate my reach. Perhaps, you concede, finally releasing the escort's wrist, letting him rub it subtly. But I also believe in the power of a single, undeniable truth, presented in the right place, at the right time. You nod subtly towards a pillar where a colleague, disguised as a traveler, is casually adjusting their camera. A silent signal, a confirmation. The leader follows your gaze, a flicker of genuine alarm crossing his face. His eyes dart around the customs area, assessing the potential witnesses, the subtle presence of other uniformed figures you've subtly brought into play. The controlled environment he expected has been compromised. You've miscalculated, he hisses, his voice barely audible above the general airport din, yet sharp as broken glass. You've stepped into a game you don't understand, Grant. The stakes are far higher than you can imagine. I understand them perfectly, you reply, your own conviction burning bright. They're the lives you've crushed, the justice you've denied. Eliza was just the latest. But she won't be the last. Not if I have anything to say about it. The leader's composure finally cracks. A vein throbs at his temple. You think this public spectacle will protect you? Foolish man. There are always ways. The true struggle, you realize, has only just begun. The hum of the fluorescent lights in the interrogation room persists, a low, persistent thrum against the ringing silence left by the leader's words. His gaze, a cold, hard promise, still burns in your mind, a brand on the fragile victory. The door clangs shut behind him, the sound echoing the finality of a prison gate. You stand there, chest heaving, the adrenaline slowly receding, leaving a tremor in your hands. A colleague, the one who stood by your side through the raid, claps a hand on your shoulder, his grip firm. It's done, Grant. It's truly done. But is it? The question hangs heavy in the air, a phantom weight. The public spectacle, the carefully orchestrated exposure of the syndicate broadcast live, every damning ledger entry, every coerced testimony, every hidden camera feed has shattered their impenetrable facade. The world watches, horrified, as the layers of corporate corruption and ancient secrets peel back, revealing the rot beneath. Arrests follow swiftly, a cascade of high-profile figures dragged from their gilded cages, their faces contorted in disbelief and fury. The news anchors speak of a seismic shift, of justice finally served. The professional repercussions are swift, a double-edged sword. Your superior, a stoic woman with eyes that have seen too much, looks at you with a mixture of pride and weariness. You broke it open, Grant. You ripped the lid off. But you also made a lot of powerful enemies. The commendation is brief, the underlying warning palpable. Your name is on every screen, lauded as a hero, a maverick who dared to challenge the untouchable. The cost of truth, they say, is often paid in solitude. The true weight settles when you receive the call. A package, recovered from a forgotten storage unit linked to one of the syndicate's shell corporations, has yielded a final, heartbreaking clue. The attending officer places a small, tarnished locket in your palm. It's old, silver, intricately etched with a single, delicate rose. And then, a faded photograph, tucked inside a leather-bound journal found alongside the locket. It's Eliza. Younger, smiling, her eyes bright with a hope that was cruelly extinguished. This is the bittersweet justice. It speaks of a hidden ledger, a microfiche containing the true financial dealings, hidden in a place she believed was beyond their reach. The missing persons case, the one that haunted your every waking moment, is no longer a mystery. Her fate, a tragic sacrifice for truth, is laid bare. He was not lost, he was murdered to protect a monstrous secret. The justice is for her, a voice finally heard, a memory avenged. For you, it's a wound that will never quite close, a ghost finally laid to rest, but not forgotten. The air is thick with the scent of coffee and distant exhaust fumes, a symphony of languages swirling around you. Travelers, eyes alight with anticipation or heavy with exhaustion, navigate the labyrinth of baggage carousels and passport control. You're not here for a flight. You're simply observing, a silent sentinel in the bustling stream of humanity. The weight of the world's secrets feels lighter now, but the scars remain, etched deep. You spot a familiar figure across the barrier, a junior agent who assisted in the initial raid, now escorting a witness, a former syndicate accountant, onto a private jet destined for protective custody. Their eyes meet yours, a brief, knowing nod exchanged. The leader's promise of always ways echoes, a low thrum beneath the cacophony of the airport. You understand now that true victory isn't about eradicating evil entirely, it's about exposing it, forcing it into the light, even if it means new tendrils will inevitably emerge. Your phone vibrates. It's a text from a colleague, confirming another arrest, another piece of the syndicate's crumbling empire falling. A small victory, a quiet satisfaction. You look out at the tarmac, where planes stand poised for flight, their engines a promise of distant horizons. The determination that drove you through the labyrinth remains, but it is tempered by a profound weariness. The personal cost has been immense, the echoes of Eliza's journal a permanent fixture in your mind. The world is a little safer, a little more transparent, thanks to your relentless pursuit. But the shadow of the leader's threat, the knowledge that some battles are never truly over, walks with you. You carry the truth, and with it, the understanding that some scars, like the memory of a delicate rose locket, never truly heal. They simply become a part of who you are, a quiet testament to the enduring cost of justice. The fight, you realize, is not over. It has merely entered a new, more subtle phase.